Good day. Thank you for joining me again for the weekly Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast. We will take a close-up look on that nasty gridlock that left hundreds of people tied up on roads round about Ochi for up to 6 hours. Then we'll go back to squatting and why the politicians won't tackle it. You'll also hear Desmond Richards on that issue. Here's a reminder for you to share this podcast, and if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the channel. But before all that, a quick look at the Sunday papers. We start with the Jamaica Observer. Now, I won't start with the Observer's main story, the rapid climb in divorce. Instead, I'll go to one of those stories of adversity and the triumph over it of a young Jamaican man who spent days and days in the market, especially during the holidays, with his mother. He's from Kellett's, Clarendon, and he has now gone beyond that. Here is part of his story. During my time in the market with her, that is with his mother, I saw so many scary things at night that opened my eyes to the reality of Jamaican society. Mom would then get the pallets and the cardboard along with a piece of sponge and make a bed for us to sleep. That young man is on the way to his Ph.D. It's a wonderful story. I'd encourage you to read it. Now, the Observer too follows up on his story about Maroon apology from last week with a story, Maroon Colonel opposed to apology. That's the Scots Hall Maroon chief. Now, this story is by Andrew Clunis, and it reveals now why the Observer also needs to go on to speak with the other colonel, the high-profile one, Richard Curry, from our compound Maroons. And concluding the Observer for today, there's a big story on gaming, or gambling as some people would prefer to say. SVL, Supreme Ventures Limited, breaks 1 billion profit mark for one quarter, the first quarter calendar of this calendar year, first quarter profits. Its revenues on the lotto are also up by 50%. Got to read that story too. Now to the Gleaner, the Sunday Gleaner. The Gleaner makes much of a 30-day ultimatum on the Shaggy Foundation to file its accounts over the foundation or lose its foundation status. But I'm going to take you inside to an important story about the KSAMC clamping down on a popular gym and restaurant in an upscale St. Andrew community. Now, this said that the businesses did not really have permits to operate there. And that raises another issue. How many communities across Jamaica, rural and urban, have businesses which are degrading the communities, in spite of us having a whole slew of municipal corporations and the KSAMC being one? And that's the story to be done. It's still to be done. Then the Gleaner comes to this screaming headline, sickening, in the sports section, sickening. And it's a sickening story. It's a story about a young man, 18 years old, Omar Leng, being shot to death on his birthday last Friday as he walked home from a birthday party in downtown Kingston. Sickening. It's one of those stories that again speaks to the waste of human resources in Jamaica. I just told you about a story which is the other side from the Observer of a young man who has overcome adversities. And here is this sickening one about the side of Jamaican life that is robbing this country. And let's just say this for Omar Leng in our tribute. He was a young footballer from St. Andrew Technical High. He got into the Cavalier Football Club setup, was due to travel with that club on Caribbean football business, and may no more Jamaican go that way. We have to fight for them. That's the papers. In the most recent episode of Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast, I mentioned the mess of a gridlock that stopped hundreds of people in their tracks on the Saturday evening, April 16, when the roads around Ochi through to Prairie in St. Ann were turned into a parking lot, and a disorderly one at that. Hundreds of people sat in traffic for between 4 and 6 hours, depending on where you were on that two-lane roadway on that Saturday afternoon into evening. A party at the UDC operated Pearly Beach, almost across from the entrance of Dunn's River Falls, and some other beaches along that beautiful stretch, were the coalescing point for the problem that stretched out fast and far, shutting down Ochi to the east and going west all the way to Prairie, some 10 kilometers away, and even the exit and entrance to the north-south highway. Those were locked down too. Since then, there have been a bundle of meetings and rushing and so on around the place, and some panicked responses. It has even been suggested that entertainment events should be banned for a while, and that, given the state of everyday traffic in Ochi, there should be no more building permits. Can you imagine that? No more building permits for Ochi. Well, get beyond that panic. I spoke with the mayor and chairman of the St. Ann Municipal Corporation, Sidney Stewart, to find out how is this going to be avoided next time something big happens in the area. And who are the ones really to be blamed? Now, understand something. No event such as happened at Pearly Beach can take place without the parish council getting information, giving a permit, and therefore they can go bad. So, here's the mayor in this interview.
Pearly Beach event is a calendar event, and these are the same promoters.
Yes.
So there's a standard thing that we would have discussed with them year after year, ensure they have it in place. So parking is one such criteria. Now, the movements, the regulation, and the direction of traffic on the road is the responsibility of the authority, which is the police.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it make sense for you to suggest to them a shuttle arrangement, either from Draxall or from same UDC beach place there, or from one of the parking lots in Ochi? Wouldn't that be sensible?
Yes, of course it would be. A part of the approval process, we looked at the amount of parking space available. That is why we asked the promoter, how many people are you expecting? So that too will have some pandemic, and people were anxious to go there. So for this period, more people descended into St. Ann than normal.
Yes.
So the police, who I think should have been controlling, were really not able to manage. But a large part of it, don't stomach light, is the indiscipline of some of the motorists, particularly public passengers motorists involved. We arrived at a position now where UDC is going to immediately clear some additional lands for parking. We are going to reintroduce the shuttle service. We are going to ensure that the preparation for parking, have additional security. It must be well lit. Yeah. We're looking at Draxall Place Hill. UDC is going to clear some land close to Pearly Beach. We are looking at using the Dunn's River car park, and then we will shuttle people down to the venue. So the question also of banning events at Pearly Beach was really not. I think the wrong information went out there. What we said was suspend the issuing of license for an interim period. Interim in this case means short term, because I said to the meeting, We will do that while all the party meets and find a solution. So look, we look at 10 days, 10 days. Okay. But it cannot exceed a month. That's what I said in the meeting.
Because to me, the whole idea of just shut down something, suspend something, etc., is really not productive. It's not pro the party. Hundreds of people come into party. Shouldn't be anything to lock down a whole parish.
Right, no. So that is why there was never any intention in the discussion to lock it down, to ban. No. We were saying that it's important for us to have additional police presence.
Yes.
In the parish, along that corridor, whether the event is large or small, even if it's classified as a little round robin, I think it's important for us. And the police is saying to us they did not have the numbers to manage what was going on. Okay. I don't want to, I'm not blaming the police, I'm not blaming the promoters, I'm not blaming those who are in the premises.
Now to the segment of our podcast called Frankly Speaking. Frankly speaking, squatting is a big thing in Jamaica. The numbers are huge and the political support is big, which together frightens the hell out of many people. As far back as 2013, then Minister of Finance Omar Davies said there were some 900,000 people living in informal settlements in Jamaica. That's nearly 1 in every 3 Jamaicans, or more than a third of the population. Frankly speaking, that's a stunning number. And you know it has been growing. Which means that squatting is quite popular, or at least quite common. And every one of us is interacting daily with people who are squatters. It requires no thinking to know that not all squatters are bad or evil. We know that. There's hardly a political constituency that doesn't have its squatters or its informal settlement. One informal or squatter settlement in one part of a constituency can give victory to one side or the other. The squatter settlements sometimes have the effect of garrison. Some politicians count on their support. Frankly speaking, you will never hear a politician in the PNP or the JLP say squatting is wrong. Full stop. You'll never hear a politician on the platform say that to set up on or capture another man's property is wrong, whether he wants to use it now or leave it for his children. You'll never hear even one of them say it is wrong for you to put up house of any kind on a man's land and then try to claim it or to claim rights to continue there because you have nowhere else to go, or that you have lived there long enough, 12 years or more, to have a right to it by law. Frankly speaking, there would be too many votes to lose that way. Nowadays, there is not even the pretense anymore that, frankly speaking, squatting is about poor people. Because we know better. We have seen cases where reputable, high-earning people have laid claim under a law to up to 40 lots of land in an upscale community and have been able to get it through the courts. 2 and 3 bedrooms, 2 floors dominate many of the squatter settlements all over the country. And there are several poor people who struggle and pay rent or put aside something little by little to buy a little square or quarter acre of land. Don't get me wrong, frankly speaking, I believe there is in Jamaica enough land that every man and woman and child ought to live without having to squat. I believe further that the situation now, as it has been for years, provides an opportunity for one of the political parties to transform Jamaica, to truly change Jamaica through a land settlement and distribution program. And, frankly speaking, any political party that does that will stay in power perhaps to the end of the century. More than that, frankly speaking, Jamaica would be a better place. And I'm not done with this issue yet. Now, let's bring in Desmond Richards in Crosstalk.
Last week, I pointed out that unless the Little Bay squatting problem is addressed properly, it could become messy. This week, the opposition People's National Party has thrown its political weight behind the issue. Both opposition leader Mark Golding and Savannah Lamar's Mayor Bertel Moore have told the squatters to stand firm. Stand firm? What do they mean by that? Over the years, both political parties have benefited immensely from the squatting problem, which has provided them with huge pockets of voters. But they have not reciprocated. Once elected to power, they kick the problem down the road, leaving the squatters vulnerable, only to be abused by police, sometimes even shot. But in the end, they remain landless. This problem can't continue. We must make a meaningful effort to address the problem. Because right now, what we have is an estimated 1 million squatters. Yes, 1 million black squatters whose forefathers slaved this land for 300 years. And yet, 150 years after slavery, with decades of economic growth, they remain landless. The Little Bay squatter problem should be converted into a national movement with the government at the center to address this matter. Let us take advantage of this opportunity once and for all. Let us emancipate and empower the people. Let us provide them with economic development, economic independence. Let us make an effort by using this opportunity, as I said, to address the problem once and for all, so that the black masses can get some economic and political independence.
That was Desmond Richards, journalist and businessman. That's it for this week's podcast. Thanks again for your support, and please keep those comments coming to this channel, Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast. I'm particularly interested on your take on what's happening to squatting. Please continue to share, and again, if you haven't yet, please subscribe. Until then, I'm Franklin McKnight.